Thanks for joining us on this Feel Good Friday. I'm Chivon Kloepfer.
It makes people happy.
Coming up on Catching Up with Kloepfer.
We went out with the fugitive team, and we were tracking these people down. We were riding in the car. I had a bulletproof vest on.
Wow.
Oh, and I'll never forget it. One man that they were after actually ended up having another warrant, and he ran, and we were in the car. And I'll never forget it. And he was running right in front of the car, and my heart was racing. I'm like, is he coming this way? And then right as he ran in front of the car, I'll never forget, his pants just fell down. His pants just fell down.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Catching Up with Kloepfer. For those of you who don't know, if you're watching us outside of mid-Michigan, I'm Chivon Kloepfer. I'm a news anchor here at WLNS TV6 in Lansing, Michigan. And I'm very excited to catch up with my guest today. I just feel like I need sound effects. Lauren Thompson, who needs no introduction for people here in mid-Michigan, because we miss you and we love you. And Lauren Thompson, a former news anchor and journalist here at TV6. Welcome.
Yes, I know. It's so nice to be back. This, of course, is a new edition. So,
Yes.
a lot of changes have happened here. It's, it's nice to be back, though. It is.
The digital studio, because we did launch this after you left, which was, 2 years ago
It was actually
now?
3 years ago.
No.
Yeah, it's been 3 years in December. Can you believe
Where did that?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Wow. Okay. Well, we have a lot to catch up on.
Yes, we certainly do.
I'll get to the new role and everything with Michigan State Police soon, but I want to talk about a little bit more about your time at TV6.
Okay.
And I want to remind people about that time at TV6. So I have the goodbye video that we aired for you on your last day. So let's watch.
Okay.
And then we'll reflect and we'll catch up.
Okay.
Okay, enjoy.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson. It's our top story at 5.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Lauren Thompson.
For the past 6 years, when you've turned on your TV to WLNS weekdays at 5 and 6 p.m., you've seen and heard Lauren Thompson helping deliver the day's news.
He has a live look at how traffic is shaping up.
A trusted news anchor focused on the facts and finding both sides of the story. Behind the scenes, an eagle-eyed proofreader, skilled at checking scripts, and a mentor to many along the way.
She was so concerned about the details, and she wanted that newscast to be just as good as it could possibly be. Probably had some bad writing habits, but with her, she's like, oh, Greg, Adeline, you're killing me, is what she would say.
But Lauren was not always this polished. She got her start at WLNS nearly 20 years ago, and Lauren learned a lot reporting in the field.
Adults, admission is $5.
Those days were short-lived, though, and Lauren moved from reporting during the day to helping Mid-Michigan start its day on the anchor desk.
Good morning. It's another day you want to grab that coat.
It was just such a blast working together.
I'll never forget the times when you were a new reporter working so hard to establish yourself, and then you worked your way up all the way to the anchor desk, joining me here for the evening news.
Lauren grew more than her skills during her time at TV6. She also grew her family. With her husband Dan by her side over the years, they've welcomed 5 beautiful children into the world.
It's been amazing to watch you as a mother, juggling your beautiful family and this hard career, making it look so easy.
A mentor turned mother, a woman who, despite growing personal commitments, remained committed to her community, and a journalist who lent her voice to those who at times did not have one.
We continue our in-depth look into human trafficking in our state by checking in on the House of Promise.
Another one of Lauren's passions? Politics.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson.
Lauren has interviewed plenty of politicians, but one of her proudest moments? Getting to travel with and interview Vice President Mike Pence on several occasions.
We are currently on our last stop with the Vice President today.
Despite how Lauren makes it look, life on live TV is not easy, and Lauren's had her fair share of technical scares.
What is happening here? You know, let's start this over. Sometimes that prompter just leads you astray. You just have to take over from there.
And thanks to David Young, she's had friendly scares, too.
David!
Lauren.
Oh my gosh, David!
David.
Who else will put up with some of the scares that I've done to you over the years?
After nearly 2 decades on the air, Lauren has become family for not only us, but for many in mid-Michigan, a perk of the job she considers a privilege. And it has been our privilege working alongside her. She leaves a lasting legacy at TV6 through the journalists she's tutored, the stories she's told, and the lives she's touched.
It's the end of an era. I'm going to miss you so much, especially out here on the anchor desk.
We were just great friends on the air and off the air. A lot of fun memories, no doubt about it.
One of my favorite memories of you was when we played purse bingo together and you were working like 8 to 10 cards at the same time because you wanted to win a purse.
Always know this, if you need a shopping buddy in the future, I am here. Just give me a call.
You've been one of my best friends here at the station, so enjoy this next step in your life, and we'll be seeing you not here at the station, but maybe for a little backyard barbecue.
Lauren, I'm going to miss you. It's not goodbye. It's just see you later.
The dramatic TV turning off at the end. Takes you back.
It does. But first of all, you are just such an amazing storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for that. I don't know if I thanked you
You
at the
did.
time for that video. But watching it today, I think it even feels more emotional to me today.
Really?
I think when I was leaving, it's in the adrenaline of the end and everything was happening. And I remember seeing that and watching it, but I haven't watched it since. So just to sit here now and watch that back, that was, you really captured that for me.
Oh.
You had to use my worst blooper ever, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm glad you
welcome.
reminded me of that because that's something that I'll keep forever.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a very, well, I guess I've never left the business, but from what I hear, it's a very special business. It's like in our heart and souls, and it's hard to let go and to take that leap into the next, chapter and unknown. And we'll get to that again, because I can't wait to catch up and learn what you're up to now.
Yeah, but you're right. And when I was deciding to leave and had decided to leave, we announced it several months before I left. And so I had quite a time to try to adjust to it. But that was one of the biggest things that I was concerned about because when you are on television news, especially in local, your job becomes such a part of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I wasn't just leaving a career. I was leaving like a persona behind as well. And I was leaving a piece of my identity.
And you're thinking, who am I going to be if I'm not Lauren Thompson on TV?
Right. But what I've learned is, your identity evolves and who you are evolves. So I didn't leave that behind. It's still very much a part of who I am, and I do still carry it with me today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's great, and I think for me, looking back at all the amazing opportunities and all the stories that I covered, but just the thing that stands out for me for that is just the friendships over the years.
Yeah.
You and Sherry and David, Julie, just so many faces that we saw in that story. And that's the amazing thing too. Those friendships definitely didn't stay here. I didn't walk away from any of those friendships.
Because you put in nearly 20 years here.
Yes,
it's a long time.
Yeah, 20 years
at one place.
I know. I worked I think I worked every job in the newsroom, every shift.
Yeah.
Every combination of shifts.
Well, and it was nice for me when I came in because I had you to look up to, not only journalistically, but also as a mom. And as I transitioned into that phase of my life, and you had just, for a good chunk of time, were just weekends, right? So you were home with your family for the week, and then you got to do what you love to do on the weekends, which is a challenge. It's a whole new thing. But looking at you saying, okay, she did it. She could make it work. And then it was Sherry too. And so I loved having you here and as a mentor in multiple different ways, which I hopefully I've communicated that to you over the years too.
You definitely have.
Aside from the vice president, multiple interviews that you had, are there any other stories that stand out? I know I didn't warn you for this question. So sometimes it's hard to...
Yeah, I have my key stories that I share, and a lot of them are stories that afforded me the opportunity to do something that the everyday person wouldn't necessarily be able to do, right? And actually, fittingly, so now that I actually work with Michigan State Police, a lot of those stories were with Michigan State Police. And like one time I went out with the fugitive team with Michigan State Police, and we were tracking down sex offender registry absconders. So people who were supposed to be registered on the sex offender registry who weren't, they weren't registering, they weren't updating their address. And so we went out with the fugitive team and we were tracking these people down. We were riding in the car. I had a bulletproof vest on.
Wow.
Oh, and I'll never forget it. One man that they were after actually ended up having another warrant, and he ran, and we were in the car. And I'll never forget it. And he was running right in front of the car, and my heart was racing. I'm like, is he coming this way? And then right as he ran in front of the car, I'll never forget, his pants just fell down. His pants just fell down.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. That's the last thing I thought you were going to say.
Right?
Okay.
I know. But he clearly wasn't wearing a belt, and his pants just fell down, and then he tripped himself, and he fell, and it was just, it was a day I'll never forget.
So he didn't get far.
No. He didn't get far. So that's one, and
that's
then
funny.
There were key stories. There's obviously the Ricky Holland story, which was the young boy who was missing, and the whole community was searching for him for months and months and months. And then it turned out, his adoptive parents were responsible for his death. So that that was tragic. All of the children that disappeared. I'm not going to name them all. And then the military families. I covered many. There was a time when our Michigan National Guard was being deployed quite a bit overseas, and not all of them came back. We had a local Marine in Portland. His name was David Hoon, and he was my age, and he did not come back. And I covered that extensively and got quite close with his family. So, those stories that really touch your heart, and you carry them with you over time.
Talk about interviewing Vice President Pence, because it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you fall or anybody fall. The fact that a journalist gets to interview one-on-one the Vice President of the United States is a huge deal.
Yes.
And I don't know if Lauren will say this, so I will. He requested you when he came back to the area.
Yes.
And wanted you as the person who interviewed him again. So talk about that, because
Okay.
what a cool thing.
Yes, that was an exciting time, right? That was, if you think back now on how the world has changed and all of that, that was the election. That was 2019. Right? Was that when COVID hit? 2019? 2020?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. So the election was in full swing, right? The election would have been in November of 2020. So this is January. I think I traveled with him first in November of 2019. And then I traveled with him again in January. And then the last time I traveled with him was the day before they declared COVID a national health emergency.
Wow.
Yes. So, and then of course we won't go into COVID and how that changed things. But to travel with the vice president was just amazing. Just to be part of that, to see what goes into a presidential visit. I mean, what we had to go through as far as security and Secret Service, and not only meeting him and interviewing him. I mean, I was shaking in my boots the first time that I was going on his bus to interview him. But by the second time and then again the third time, I was like, hey, I kind of have this down. But out of that, a few key experiences. The first time was in West Michigan, and I'll never forget. They had the journalists in one of the white vans that was in the motorcade, and it was amazing. Again, everything seems to steer me back to Michigan State Police here. We were, having escorts by the troopers, and you would hear them, their engines coming, because they would go from behind us, they would go and they would block the next exits that we were going. And then as soon as we would pass those exits, they would pull off and they would fly by us again and get, so it was like kind of this round robin game of closing down the highway as we were traveling there. But at one point, the motorcade completely just stopped in the middle of the highway. And all of a sudden, the door to the van opened, and they were pulling out the Secret Service. We were the first crew to go. They were like, WNS crew, come. They were like pulling us out of the car, and they're running. We're having to run up the highway.
And you don't know why at this
vehicles.
point?
We knew we were going to the bus.
Oh, okay.
And then we get to the bus, and we have our backs against the bus, and they're like people with guns all around. I mean, it was just a surreal experience.
Wow.
And then we get on the bus, and that had its own security thing. And then we entered the room before the vice president came in.
And when you say we, it was you and a photographer.
Yeah. So I believe that first one was Dave Parks. That
went with you.
Yes.
Yes.
So he
Our former
was there
chief
for that one.
photographer here at the station.
because he was there for one, or that could have been Connor Wilton, also a former chief photographer. They both, between the two of them, they kind of covered those trips with me.
Right.
But it was just a surreal experience. And then the second time I traveled, actually the first one was Connor, because then the second time that I traveled with him, when he came back that second time, the first one we went in, they stopped the motorcade on the highway. We went in, we drove maybe 10 miles doing the interview, then they stopped it again, and the next journalist, we got off and the next team got on.
Right.
But the second time that he was here, we actually stayed on the bus, Dave Parks and I, after the interview, and we rode with the vice president from Saginaw to Frankenmuth. And we just sat. So the interview was done. They just kept us on the bus. John James, is now a congressman, I believe. He was on the bus. And Dave Parks and I are just sitting in the kitchen of the vice president's bus having pizza with Vice President Mike Pence and John James. And we're just he was talking about his daughter was getting married. And it was just, very surreal moment.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that part. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
what an experience.
Yes, it was quite the experience. But, then he was on a bus tour then, but then as, I alluded to, then COVID hit. And I can remember, this is also an interesting memory I have from the newsroom. I can remember being in the newsroom, and at the point, we were hearing COVID. We knew it was in China. We had no cases in the United States, or maybe we had a handful. Maybe I think they were on the West Coast appearing first. And I remember the day before, kind of hashing out my questions. And it was the day before his last visit, the vice president's last visit. We were just coming here to Lansing. And I said, what do you think of this COVID thing? Do you think I should ask the vice president about COVID? And the decision was made, no, it's not here yet. It's not in China. He's here to talk about the economic plan. And and I was only going to have this small little window.
Right.
So we really had to be very particular about what we wanted to ask him about. And the decision was not to. And then it was the very next day that, they came out with that national emergency. And I just thought, man, what if I would have asked that question? I could have broke that. Broke that story of COVID.
Right.
But... And then, then we'll just say everything changed.
Everything changed. Yeah. And we don't have the time to get into all
we don't
that
have
stuff.
time to go COVID.
Anything else you want to say really about just, that you haven't said already about your time? Because I do want to transition into your new role. I just wanted to give you another chance if there was anything else you want to say.
I loved my time here at TV6. I do miss it. People ask, that's the question I get a lot. Do you miss it? Not as much as I thought I would. I think I'm really enjoying, the kind of phase of life that I'm in now. But I also I do miss the community and the viewers. And I do still get it. And people do still stop me and say hi, and we still talk, but not to the extent, that we used to. Yeah. And I love Mid-Michigan, and I loved, the viewers and the back and forth and the people here. And it was just such an amazing time of my life. I mean, I was able to have and, largely raise my children while I was here with that job. So it'll just always be a very, very special part, very large part of, my life in general. It was 20 years.
I was asked over the weekend by Jorma Duran, current evening anchor, you've been here 14 years, Chivon, holy cow, why? And we were doing a speaking thing, and there was people listening in, and I just said, it was because I stayed, loved the job, but because this station was so willing to work with me as my family grew and evolved, and I went full-time, part-time, full-time, part-time, and, every little day part, just to see how I could continue to do what I love to do, but then also feel good.
Right.
And that was that you don't get that everywhere. And I know that was the same kind of case for you too.
It was. It was. And I will always be grateful for the opportunity that TV6 did provide me over the years to be able to maintain my career while raising a family.
Moving on to the new career now. Yeah. I see you're wearing a very particular shade of blue, and I noticed this, a very MSP, Michigan State Police type shade of blue, I think,
maybe
today.
It's just a habit now.
Talk about your new role. And you just recently were promoted as well, so congratulations on that.
You.
So I want you to brag a little bit and talk a little bit about that.
Okay, I think the misconception when I was leaving TV6, it was kind of branded as I was retiring, or that I was leaving to go take care of my family, which I was, because I was really at a crossroads. The news hours are in the evening, and it was great when my children were younger and I could be home during the day. But as they got older and then school sports came into play, and I was missing sporting events, and I just was, had to make the decision that I was not going to be the mom who was not going to be there, being their loudest fan,
Right.
So I didn't really know what I was going to do when I left, which was, scary in itself, but thankfully I had a lot of faith in God, and I knew that things would work out, and they did. So I landed with the Michigan State Police in their Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division.
Very fitting for what you did as a profession for almost 20 years. Yeah.
And I walked in as the public information officer. And I had an idea from this side, being in the media, what a public information officer would do,
right?
But the position when I walked in was vacant as well. So I had a lot of learning, not only about being a public information officer, but emergency management in general, which is just an amazing thing, an amazing profession. And there are so many great people across our state. Preparing and being ready to respond to disasters. And I've learned so much over these last 3 years. I've really, when I walked in, it was so much new information. There were so many times where I thought, what did I do?
Little over, yeah.
I went from a 20-year career here where I knew everybody, knew where everything was. I could answer virtually any question about the station, to knowing nothing, being in a place where I knew no one.
Which does not feel good.
No, it was, just complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
But fortunately, I walked into a place of amazing people. My command, it's been a new thing. I'm a civilian, it's like a brand that I'm a civilian in Michigan State Police. But there are so many, there are a ton of civilians that work within the Michigan State Police Department, and they're just great people. And my division, EMHSD is the acronym for it, is just it's just an amazing place to work. We have amazing leadership, amazing team there. So they definitely supported me through learning the emergency management, learning what I need to do as a public information officer for the division. And not only that, I recognized right away when I went in that, we are way understaffed in this division for public information. I mean, because as you know, on this media, and I know now, from both sides, like public information is key. Like it is as important to people as bread and water, in an emergency, because it often can lead people to bread and water, you know, in an emergency. And so my command saw that too. And as I learned and grew and, pitched some ideas, we were able to kind of reorg a little bit in the division and expand and make some changes. And so we took what was just one public information officer and we merged the public information with our emergency preparedness unit into a new section, which is public information and emergency preparedness. And so now I actually manage that unit or that section. And we have our emergency preparedness unit, and then we have a new public information officer. So now I've at least doubled the team of public information. But just to share too a little bit of what I do and what that is.
Yep.
So for me personally in EMHSD, whenever there's a major disaster emergency, largely in the state of Michigan, we're talking weather related.
Yes.
Right. However, we do have 2 nuclear power plants that are active, and we're bringing the third Palisades back. So we'll have 3 active nuclear power plants very soon once that recommissions. And so we also are involved in the oversight and would be involved, God forbid, in the response of any issue at our nuclear power plants.
Right.
So my job on a daily basis, right, is to we do a lot of preparedness initiatives. Like you'll start hearing about Severe Weather Awareness Week and the statewide tornado drill. That's largely conducted out of our emergency preparedness unit. We do pop preparedness in June, preparedness month in September, Winter Hazards Week in November. All those fitting campaigns.
Yeah,
that
really
we hear
important
about.
reminders throughout the year.
But also within that division, so we're basically before, during, and after any disasters in the state. But anytime that you're here, the governor has declared a state of emergency. That's coming up through our division.
Most recently, the ice storm.
The ice storm would be key. So we coordinated the state response. We support the local response. We coordinate the state response, and then we facilitate the federal help down to the locals. in a nutshell, right? And so, but the big information piece in that, when we are in the time of the disaster, and we would activate our State Emergency Operations Center, which is an amazing facility out at MSP headquarters, that brings together stakeholders from every area of the response. So from all state agencies have a seat there. The Red Cross has a seat there. The United Way has a seat there. The major utilities, have seats there. And so it brings everybody together under, in one area to talk about, okay, what's needed and how can we respond to this. And then my role in that, we form what's called the Joint Information Center. And so representatives from all the state agencies come together, and then we work together on the public messaging side, so that from the state of Michigan, you're hearing one consistent message.
Because there's so many entities, like you just pointed out.
Yes, and I've learned, and during breaking news, right, when it happens and you as journalists are working so quickly to gather all this information, and then you're deciding among all the information that's coming out, now what am I going to communicate to the viewers? Like, what do they need to know immediately?
Right.
I got to tell you, I have a whole new respect clearly from the other side now, because the media is filtering pre-filtered information. So you are filtering information that has been released. Now we're on the side of what needs to be released and in what order, in order to get that information out, knowing that, again, it's going to be filtered, on the other side.
Even
so
more.
Yeah. So it's pretty high stress, but what I love about this job is you hear from a lot of people who leave the news business and go into PR or, marketing type jobs, that they get bored.
I knew exactly where you were going, because I hear it all the time.
Yes, because media and news and TV news is so fast paced. You've got daily deadlines, it's high stakes accuracy, right? I mean, it's so important.
A lot of pressure.
It is a high pressure job. And I think people are drawn to that for a reason. So when you step out of it, like you said, a lot of people get bored. I do not get bored at this job.
It seems like it's a perfect fit for you. Just from listening to the excitement that you're, sharing about your job. You love it.
I do. Yeah. I have been so lucky to not only have, you hear about so many people who go through their whole life, just going to work or not loving their job. I have just been beyond blessed to, I just absolutely loved my career as a journalist, and now to have this renewed, restart, I guess, has been such a blessing to me. And what scared me at first, has basically invigorated me now, to take on something completely new and to learn
Challenge yourself too.
And to be challenged and to then, really thrive. But again, I have to go back to just my leadership and the team at EMHSD, because I'm very supported there, and I just feel so valued, and they hear my ideas and they listen, and I think, but it's that experience that I'm bringing, from here over, and that outsider, kind of perspective that has really translated. So, yeah, it's been great, and I'm just nutshelling, what emergency management is.
Oh,
and
we
all
could
of
talk
that.
for hours.
I know.
I'm sure.
I could just talk and talk and talk about it, because I do really, love it, and I look forward to. I still have a lot to learn in it. But I'm enjoying it.
Good.
So, and work-life balance. I work more now. I definitely work more,
Right.
than I did at TV6. However, being home in those evening hours, the flexibility of that, and every time I do have moments where I'm driving one kid to practice as I'm picking up the other kid on the way home to get to the other game by halftime. And I'm feeling the pressure and the stress, and like, why have I been in the car for 2 hours and I haven't left a 4-mile radius, right? But then I think, you know what? If I would have never made that transition, I wouldn't even, it's a blessing that I can do that I'm there, And I'm able to coach. I just love coaching. I'm coaching soccer and volleyball. So yeah, it really worked out.
Well, I'm happy for you, Lauren.
Thank you.
We miss you,
I know.
obviously.
I miss
but
you too.
Really nice catching up with you.